All right, good morning. How are you out there? So glad to have you. It's always such a treat. And I know you have lots of options of what you could be doing at this particular time. So I just, again, want to let you know how much I appreciate you choosing to be here. So I'm Delinda Lane. I'm the host of our Tuesday live show and want to just chat with you today about a subject that I think affects so many women. Well, as a matter of fact, I think it affects most every woman I know. Now, there may be some who figured it out, and I think it goes in spurts. Sometimes we are in this phase of busy, 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 busy. And then other times we've learned how to figure out and kind of calm ourselves down, or something happens in our life that kind of forces us into that. So, as we look at our various things that we're going to chat about today, I want to have you think about, is there an area in your life where you feel like you're just going, doing, helping everybody else, and you feel like your life is just busy, just busyness all the time? I think our society really puts that on us as if, being busy is a badge of honor, like, oh, I'm so busy. Right? Wouldn't you say that? It's like when you say to something, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm so busy. Like, oh, I am so busy. I just don't have time for anything. That is not a good answer. How about, if they say, how you doing? I am doing great. Things are going really well. Or, I've got a little stuff going on, but it's all good. Answering the word busy is just an empty word. It's just a word that says that, I think it kind of says that your life is maybe a little bit chaotic and out of control and certainly has no harmony. You know how I love to talk about the word harmony. Other people call it balance. Maybe it's also part of a rhythm that happens when we're trying to really be a little bit more in control over what we do. Now, that is one thing that we do have control over. We don't have control of the world, and we don't have control of our kids. We don't have control of most everything. But how we spend our time, we do have control over that. And how busy we are also is something that we have, control over. So I think instead of busy being a badge of honor, well, what it does is it does steal your peace and it steals your joy because you don't take time to just breathe and relax a little bit. So most all the time what I hear women talking about is that they just feel pulled in so many directions. And maybe today we can think about things a little bit differently so that you don't have to feel like your life is so busy, but that your life really has more priority, more clarity. So as we get started here, think about, if you feel that, you could answer, do you feel that all the time, or do you feel that some of the time, or you feel it different seasons of your life? I know when my kids were little, that was probably the hardest time or the most challenging time to kind of have clarity about what I'm doing. And I felt like I did not have any control because really these two little kids being 20 months apart just kept me active all the time. You had to have your eye on them most of the time and at least being able to hear them and know what they're doing. So those of you with children, young children at home, I know that is really challenging. So maybe that's when you look around and find somebody, whether if you're married or not married, if you're a single parent, find someone that you can rely on and maybe just take a little bit of time, maybe 30 minutes if that's all you can get in, or take an hour or two. I was so blessed when my kids were young. Bill traveled all the time, so I felt in this constant, I felt like a single parent a lot of the time because he was gone, and I had some wonderful neighbors. And Diane, sometimes you're on the show here, and if you are, I just want to thank you because I still remember how you saved me a lot of days when Alicia cried and Justin wanted to play, and I knew I needed to run to the store. And she, my friend Diane, said, well, just leave the kids with me, because she had young kids and they played together. But Alicia, when she was a baby, just cried all the time. And Diane would just take her and say, go on, go run to the store. So that, run to the store felt like a breath of fresh air just to be able to get out. So my heart's out to you. You guys, I know that if you have young children at home, that's very challenging. Then the other thing is, as our kids start growing up and we go into these different seasons of our life, being busy kind of changes in perspective, doesn't it? It's not as much around just the kids growing up. And those of you moms who work full time and have young children at home, it is a lot. It is a lot. And it's really, really important that you take some time for yourself. Now, today's subject is not about taking rest or, taking some me time or taking care of yourself, but it does blend into the subject of busyness. I can usually tell that I am too busy, that I'm going into that place when I start missing appointments or being late for appointments. And sometimes, and in the last, I thought I was doing pretty well, but in the last month, I missed two important things. One was an interview that I was holding, that I was interviewing someone for my book that's coming up. And I totally missed it. Fortunately, she is a good friend and she loves me and she gave me grace, and we did it last weekend instead, because the first weekend it was an unusual time. I don't usually schedule them on Saturdays, and Saturday came and I just did my usual Saturday stuff. Have you ever found that? Have you ever found that you do that? You miss appointments, or you say, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to be there now. And so you run in, and then that sort of upsets the rest of your day when you're having to run and do that. I always find that that is a real telltale sign for me that I'm beginning to overbook myself. So look at your life and what are the things that you're doing that can kind of be your telltale sign, the thing that makes you like, oh my gosh, maybe I better step back a little bit, take a deep breath. I do that a lot. That's how I calm myself. That's how I get myself to refocus and think about, what am I doing and how am I setting up things. One of the biggest, so the book that I'm writing is called Divine Detours, Embracing Life's Interruptions. And as I'm collecting stories, so any of you who are out there that have had some interruptions, which would be everybody. Okay, everybody has them. But if you have some interruptions that have happened in your life where you just know the Lord was with you, that you went to him and you saw how your faith helped you through that. I'm just putting a little plug in because I need about another 5 or 6 people to interview and have you just tell me your story. It's not like really major stress. It's just telling me your story and how your faith helped you make it through those times. So if you want to reach out to me in some way and let me know that. So as I'm scheduling these things and as I'm doing things, so one of the biggest interruptions in my life in this recent time is when my mother had a stroke last year. And it was during this time last year that she was recuperating. She was living with us, and I had to put everything on hold. So those of you who've walked with me these years, you know about that, even my Tuesday mornings. So I took about, I don't know, 3-4 months where I did not hold Tuesday morning lives and just took a pause, hit that pause button on everything except taking care of my mother. And so that totally changed. And so his mother got better and she got ready to move back to Phoenix, which is where I am today. I'm in Phoenix. So I'm going to go see her a little bit later today. What I found was I wanted to make sure that I didn't just jump back in and do everything I was doing just because I needed to get busy, or just because is not a very good reason. Would you agree with that? Just because. But I wanted to make sure that what I added back into my life were the things that God really wanted me to do. Well, how was he going to take this big pause? How was he going to take it and put it into something great, put it something into beautiful, something that he had planned for my life? Because I want to walk day by day with him, which is what I do. Is every day I start my day with the Lord and take that time, and I really just ask he will guide me through the day. So when I began to put things back, the one thing that I felt really positive about was coming back to Tuesday Live. And I told you when I came back, it was like, I don't know how long as I feel the Lord leading in it, I will be here. And when he changes and puts it someplace else, then I will. So I didn't go back to just doing everything I was doing. And so sometimes the world gives us a pause. It says, so sometimes it happens if you get sick, sometimes it happens if you lose a job. All these interruptions can oftentimes shift your thinking. The pandemic, let's look at that. It shifted everything in the world, not just our homes, but in the world and in our country and our neighborhoods, and certainly in our homes and jobs. So that big shift, and I think a lot of people did some soul search, say, I don't want to just be busy. I don't want to just be doing things to do things. In the Experiencing God Bible study that I lead, one of the things he says in there, now my mother used to say to me, don't just stand there, do something. We'd be Saturday morning cleaning the house. Don't just stand there, do something. Well, he says the opposite. He says, don't just do something, stand there and wait. Wait till the Lord guides you and says it. So if you really look at it, and this actually, I just thought about this right now. I should have connected it sooner. But a few weeks ago, when I was with Lisa, we talked about setting your 5 circles or your 5 boxes of priorities, and then looking at your life and all the things you're doing, and do they fit in those 5 boxes? And if they do, then you keep it. If they don't, or you're not sure, tweak it if you want to keep it, or delegate it. The last one was, get rid of it, delegate it, do something with it, release it from your stuff. So today it's like I'm saying, let's continue that thought and look at what you're doing. And one of my very first coaches that I had outside of Mary Kay, in Mary Kay, we had coaches, anything we needed, we had people to go to and mentors. But when I hired my first coach, which all of you out there, I highly recommend that everybody has a coach. So whether you pay for your coach or you have someone in your life that can coach or mentor you, it's really important to have that. So my very first coach, she says, I want you to write down and send me at the end of the week everything you did all week. And I said, well, what do you mean? No, she says, everything you do. I said, are you talking about going to the grocery store? She said, yeah, I want to know every single thing you do. Well, first of all, that was really hard to do because I never really thought about what do I do. So I wrote it down and sent it to her. We got on the phone and she said, Delinda, I read your list and I had to go take a nap. So yeah, sometimes I feel like that too, that I take a nap. Not so much anymore because I'm learning, I'm getting better at a lot, some of these things. So look at your life, and you did your dump it, right? You dumped your brain out, thinking of all the things that you do and the dreams that you have and all that you want. Just that brain dump thing is such a great exercise to do. So when you're looking at that, what are those things that, that are just keeping you busy? And let's decide not to keep doing those. If you're only doing something because you feel you should, that's usually a real alert sign, like ding, ding, a little red flag for me. Is if I'm doing something because I think I should, well, then I relook at that very, I'm very focused to say, okay, what does that mean I should? Is this something I feel God's calling me to? Because when I feel that he's calling me to something, it's not a I should. That means if he's calling me, I'm doing it. Sometimes the I should is because I feel pressure from other people to do something. It could be in the family. I don't know about y'all, but I feel a lot of those shoulds with the family. Sometimes I'm not so sure that the shoulds is really the right word, because sometimes I think it helps them when they come to us with something and that we're there to help them and we want to as moms. But the other side of that is sometimes we're not really helping them. Sometimes we're enabling them. And I can admit to that many times through the years. It would have been better for me to have given more freedom to my kids early to make their own choices and own up to their choices and their mistakes, because we all make them. And when we can own up to them and really admit to them, that's what gives us freedom. And then, there are consequences to choices, and sometimes they're really good consequences, and sometimes they're not so much. So looking at things like if it's oh gosh, I really should do that. Why? Because somebody else said so? Because Susie Q down the street does it so well that you should do it too? No. The answer is no. No, not now. Let me think on that. Let me pray on that, whatever that looks like in your life. So thinking about the whole busyness, and I would say, the 3 years that Jesus walked this earth, he was never just being busy, busy to be busy. You know, he was focused, he was intentional in what he did, and he took time to rest. He would, you know, all through the Gospels, it talks about him going away by himself. And if he, the Son of God, needs to separate himself out and take time to pray to his Father and take time to replenish his soul. I mean, he was human, y'all, and he got tired just like we do. But we think we don't need to rest. And women, we are the worst. We think that we can do everything all the time, but at some point you get into overload. I think everybody does. I'll just say most, just in case there's a few of y'all out there, because again, society sort of celebrates. We have a full calendar. You know, I'm exhausted. I'm doing so much. The kingdom leadership looks different than that. It's like doing the things that we're really called to do, that Jesus um, has really asked us to join him on his activity, to really experience all that he has for us and not just doing to be doing. So I hope that makes sense. I'm being clear there. But really aligning ourselves with what God's will is for us, really choosing those things that you believe are really the most important in your life. And maybe God's calling somebody else for that particular thing. And if you just jump in and say yes because you think you're supposed to or because you think you should, then that person might not get the opportunity. And that'd be pretty sad, wouldn't it? That because we jump in to take over and because we can, you know, that should probably go on a t-shirt. Just because we can doesn't mean we should. I think that'd make a great saying to put on something. So we don't need more time. We just need a better rhythm. We need a better choices of how we spend our time. It's, you know, that rhythm pattern. And I kind of like that, you know, since I'm into harmony, you know, that also kind of goes with the rhythm of our lives. And as I said, I'm still learning that because, you know, if I don't stay centered, then my day can get really scattered. At the end of the day, it's like, gosh, I'm tired and I was busy all day, but I don't even know what I really did. That's not a very good answer, is it? So multitasking all day is not the best thing. But when we're focused and we're intentional, we feel good about what we've done. We feel more at peace in general because we've been intentional with the time that we're spending. And y'all, I think our relationships really suffer when we just stay busy to be busy. And just the other night, Dylan and I were sitting at dinner, and I said something. He says, "Yeah, I think you're kind of, you know, you've reached your limit, haven't you?" And so I was thinking, there's a couple things that I would like to do, okay, that I feel are important, and yet I'm not doing them right now. They are back on this shelf here a little bit because I feel it's important to do them and I'm feeling led towards that. But right now, today is not the season, it's not the time. But I think God's preparing me for whatever this particular thing is. And sometimes we just, you know, it's right here. God can just form it. And you know, our brains are so incredible that, you know, the brain just keeps planning and it can start even thinking of logistics on how to make things work. While we're just, you know, I think God plants a seed in our brain. You know, it says he will give us the desires of our heart. And I think he's putting them in our heart for us to do, but he may not be saying right now today, but it's something that he's going to bring to fruition at the right time. So I think that pause, that wait until it's the right time, you know, Ecclesiastics is all about, you know, there's a time for everything. There's seasons in our life. And it's important to pay attention to them, but we don't have to jump in and do them all at the same time. Does that make sense? So we also don't want to harm our relationships. You know, I could get so busy that I don't have time to, you know, talk to Bill. And I think a little bit of an issue, I don't know if y'all have this, but both Bill and I work in our home. So he has his office space and his desk, and I have my office space and my desk, which right now mine's the best. But I did offer and say, okay, honey, my office is so wonderful. I said, it is so great. You can see out the window. And I said, you know, but I would switch with you. You know, what he's doing right now is really, really important. Mine is too, but from a different perspective. but I don't mind because I've had this lovely office. And he said, no, 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 I like my space. It's kind of off way out by itself. It's down in the lower level of our house is finished and has all his bookcases and stuff, but it's just downstairs. Now I would not be very happy down there. Just giving y'all a lot of TMI, right? Is what you want to know. But I did offer it, and I said, honey, it is so great. So this week, while I'm gone to Phoenix, he's working out of my office. And so we may have to do a switch when I get home, which is okay, because I'm tending to get out and do more now, not just be at home all the time. So, might be nice that he has that upstairs office that looks out the windows. So we don't want to just leave our families with the leftovers, right? We want to give them the best of our time because they're who we love the best. And in my 5 circles of priorities, I actually have a circle for Bill. So I say circle because when I wrote my 5 priorities down, mine are actually clouds. I know. I just make little clouds, and here's family, and here's Bill, my husband, Bill, because how I do both of those relationships is different. So I want them separate. And then of course my spiritual life with the Lord is one of those as well. My health is one, and it's the one still lagging behind a little bit. So I don't spend too much busyness there, but something that I'm doing in one of those other circles is going to open up time to do that, because we all have the same amount of time, and I don't want to just be busy to be busy. So and then my ministry or work life, so that's my 5th circle, because that's my calling, and that's what my 5th circle is. So think about this as you're looking at your life. If you're just feeling overwhelmed and busy, you're the only one that can make the change, and you can, and it's okay. If Jesus pulled away to be by himself, to have time to pray and have time to just rest, he is the Lord of the Sabbath. Those are words that he said. He is the Lord of the Sabbath. And so Sabbath meaning rest. Whenever you take time to rest your heart and rest your soul and let Jesus be the rest for you. Because then you're not just being busy, busy, busy. And, you're not going to get any great rewards, and nobody's giving out ribbons because you're busy all week. The benefit and the payoff is going to be as your relationships grow, is your relationship with your kids or with your spouse or with your friends. When was the last time you went out with just some friends and had a cup of coffee or went out to dinner? Could be a long time. And those are important. Those are what we do to nurture our hearts, especially as women. That's why I love our Fun Fearless Female group. And here in Kansas City, we've decided now we're going to meet and have a lunch every other month. So on the even months, we're going to have lunch together, because it's so important to be together, to grow in those relationships. And yes, Zoom is wonderful. I'm so glad we have it, because I wouldn't be able to be talking to you today. So our rest, think about that your rest is actually the fuel that you need to keep going on. We need to have that fuel. We need to have that rest. And so as you think about that this week, look at those, the circles, your priorities. Look at all the things that you're doing. What have you decided to keep? What have you decided to tweak a little bit, or what have you decided to release? And as you're looking at those, even looking at the ones now that you're keeping, let's fine tune it some more. Because if you are saying the words of, oh, I'm just so busy, or I just don't have time, yes, you do. Yes, you do. You just have to figure out a way for you that's going to keep your life a little more in harmony, a little bit more in rhythm, and not just be busy to be busy. There are ways in there. So ask God to help you. He will show it to you. He'll show you when just moving and all is just taking up space and your time and your energy. Whereas momentum is a different thing. Momentum happens when you're really focused and you're building something and it's working positively in your favor. Momentum is when you're intentional about what you're doing and you're not just being busy. Hope that makes sense to you. So I like this quote that I found. It says, movement makes you tired. Momentum makes you effective. That was pretty good. So I believe God builds momentum through obedience and not being overwhelmed. When we're obedient and do as he's leading to us, then you're not going to feel that chaos, that overwhelm. You're going to feel more peace, and you're going to feel more joy. I do believe busyness robs you of your joy because you don't take time to really Breathe and just feel his peace and feel his joy. So that's how you get over busyness. So I love it that you're here. Thank you so, so much again for being here. Remember that life is not a matter of chance, it is a matter of choice. So choose how you are going to spend your time. Choose the things that you're going to stop being busy and just be more bold and more intentional in your choices. All righty. Well, thank you so much, everybody. I'm so glad that you joined me today. I'll be here in Phoenix for the next week, and then I will see you back next Tuesday, as always. Thank you so much. God bless, and see you next time.